Hi guys, welcome to the Legal Dish with Kun. And today I have with me Sibusiso Dube. It's so weird saying your full name because everyone calls you
I'm Sbu, right? Yeah.
I have Sbu with me. Welcome.
Thank you for having. What you're doing is very important. So it's an absolute pleasure. Wherever we can assist. And I think Gaka told you, back then, if we had something like this, my goodness, I would have made so many different decisions.
Less mistakes, ne?
Yeah, definitely.
So just to introduce Spoo, he's an employment, sports and litigation attorney at Bowmans. In case you don't know, Bowmans is one of the top 10?
Top 5.
Oh wow, okay. Top 5 international firms in the country, corporate firms. So that's what he does at Bowmans. He's also the founder of Dube Talent and the founder of Masut. And we'll get into, am I saying it right?
Masuti.
Masuti.
Yes.
Okay. Which we'll get into later on. All right. So Spoo, just to set this, just so for some background, by the way. So I know Spoo from varsity. Luckily, he has taste in varsity, unlike the previous guest. So we both went to UJ. So it's been how many years?
Sure.
Or are we revealing our age?
We're revealing our age.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your background. What kind of child were you? What kind of family did you grow up in? I do know you're a Jim come to Joburg because you're not from our wonderful city originally.
Wow. Okay. Sure. I mean, so I'm from a small town called Bethal, which is in Mpumalanga. It's literally one of those towns where people just drive straight through when they go into KZN.
Yeah.
So that's really where I grew up, and I attended my primary schooling there. I attended an Afrikaans primary school, believe it or not.
Are you fluent?
Ekvas.
That accent. Okay.
I used to be quite fluent, but I think over the years, not really speaking the language much, but I can still speak it. And then in high school, my parents shipped me off. They sent me to Witbank. So I went to boarding school at Witbank High.
Did you enjoy that?
It was fantastic. I think it was great.
I also went to boarding school in grade 7, I think, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think they did me such a huge favor because that's literally when I started getting into sports and just really leaning on myself and learning to lean on myself. That's essentially me and where I'm from. What kind of a child was I?
Yeah, were you naughty? Were you like a snitch?
I think I was a fairly good boy.
Okay, so we know where you studied. You studied at UJ. Why law?
Sure. It's such a... I don't think it's a motivating story at all. It's not motivating
at all.
Many of ours
aren't, actually.
But, I just mentioned now that when I got to high school, I got into sports. And I became really passionate about sports. So when I was in matric, I had this whole idea of studying something sports related. And having grown up in a small town, people back home, they were either, everyone back home worked at Cecil, which in a nearby town. The people that have made it.
And I've heard this from people from Mpumalanga.
Yeah,
so it's a thing.
It's a thing, the people who have made it, they all work at Cecil.
And they're
engineers. Right? So it was either I must be an engineer, or I must be an accountant, or a doctor, but one of those professions, right? So when I brought the idea up with my parents that, hey, mnangfuna sports, they were just like, okay. And then this was it was that kind of vibe. They didn't say don't study it. They never discouraged me from studying it, but they were not too excited either. I'd be met with comments like, don't you want to study engineering like that one who's now driving an A4, So at the time, the subjects that I was really good in matric was English, Afrikaans, and accounting. Those are like the 3 subjects I was really good in. So I was kind of confused between accounting and law. So my older sister had a friend at the time who was studying an LLB. So I got with her, we spoke, I told her listen, I'm kind of caught in between accounting and law. And she said, well, why don't you do BCom law? Because that's going to incorporate both of them. And then once you finish the BCom, you can decide whether you want to go LLB route or whether you want to go the accounting route. And I thought,
nice story as well.
yeah, and that just sounded perfect. So then I started and I did my BCom. And after the first year of doing accounting 1A and 1B, sharp.
It's not the same as the matric one, eh?
For us lawyers, but the accounting kids will tell you it's easy.
They're like, oh.
So that's basically how I got into studying law and how I got into LLB.
Okay, and what were your favorite subjects?
In
Or
varsity,
modules? Yeah.
in varsity, oh goodness, wow, you're taking me that far
Way back.
Considering how I don't use any of them except for one.
Yeah.
But I think I enjoyed family law.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, I thought I was the one odd person.
No. I mean that was a first year course. I really enjoyed family
Was it
law.
not a second year course?
I did it in first year.
Oh. Okay, we were in different years.
Yeah. I did it in my first year. So I really enjoyed family law. I enjoyed evidence. I just thought it's so interesting. I kid you not.
And evidence was at
7:30
on a
Friday. 7:30 on a Friday. Yeah. I enjoyed criminal law.
Yes, that was very interesting.
And then there was a time we had that private law A and private law B,
yeah, I remember that,
which dealt a bit with the Competition Act, and so I really enjoyed that as well. I think those are the ones that I can really remember offhand.
Yeah. And as you were studying law, were you like, okay, I'm studying the right thing, or were you like still not very sure?
No, not at all. I mean, there was not once where I felt like this is it, I'm studying the right thing.
Okay.
I never felt that way at all. In fact, I think I was very confused towards the end of my time in varsity, and a big part of me didn't even want to go the articles route, get admitted. I didn't want to go that route.
So what were you thinking?
I was thinking more along the lines of being a legal advisor, Kosasol.
They can't just yeah.
But yeah,
Make the parents proud.
Make the parents proud. They can say our son is a legal advisor.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my thinking was really along the lines of I want to be in-house. I want to work at a company. I want to be the legal advisor. That was really my thinking at the time.
So what then took you this route?
What took me this route is getting articles at Bowmans.
Okay, so before, because I'm gonna ask how you got articles at Bowmans, but why then did you even apply? I'm even scared to ask because Karabo was like handpicked.
So, no, I didn't apply.
Oh gosh.
I didn't apply.
I'm gonna go and restart my life because clearly.
I think it is just one of those destiny kind of moments.
So how did it come about then?
It came about. I was at a particular conference, and I was on a panel. So I remember that conference very well. It changed my life. So it was a conference for institutions that have graduate recruitment programs. So attending the conference were various human resource directors. From Unilever was there. Everyone who's anyone. Bowmans was there. Adams and Adams. Norton Rose, so all the big corporates were there, and so I was part of the panel. And after we had that panel discussion, I literally had a queue of HR directors waiting to speak to me, and and look, I must be honest. Going into that conference, I told myself, this is your job interview.
Okay.
There's no ways you are walking out of there without a job.
And I think just to pause you there, I think a lot of young people can do with that little tidbit of advice. I think a lot of times we take possible opportunities for granted, and you just go there, and even the way you're dressed and whatever. And I think, and I don't want to do the whole generational thing, but what I've seen from people that I kind of studied with were very proactive. Like go and get it. Like no one's gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
So I think that attitude and that mindset it literally was your springboard.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so there was a string of HR directors waiting to talk to Sbu, and then
Yeah, so one of those directors happened to be the HR director from Bowmans.
okay.
And so she called me to come for an interview. I was also called at the other firms to go for an interview. So I came through, she interviewed me, and then I had to go for another interview with another individual in HR. Then she arranged for me to come and spend a day at the firm with a number of associates and candidate attorneys, just having a look at what they're doing. Then I received an invitation to come to their selection day process.
Okay.
So that year they were starting this process where they interview their candidates over 2 days, and they take you through a number of exercises. Yeah, so I was then invited to come to that and be a part of that. I came to that, for the 2 days. I was extremely overwhelmed, by the way. I've never been around so many brilliant minds.
And where excellence is like a minimum requirement.
Yeah. So I did that for the 2 days, and I remember, walking away on day 2 thinking, I'm just so privileged having experienced that, Then I got a phone call later that afternoon, and they asked me to come back the following day because they wanted me to do a further exercise. So I came back and I did the exercise, and then the next day I got
what exercise?
So it was like a due diligence exercise. I had to review a contract.
As a varsity student?
As a varsity student.
Wow. Okay. Overwhelming much?
Yeah. So, I can't divulge a lot about the program, but it was around that.
Please pause and assist some of us who had to apply for articles. A young kid out there who's in the first, second year of their LLB, they want to be approached.
Yeah.
They want to be selected and get the phone call. What distinguished you? Or, what were your marks like? So I understand on the day of the conference you put your best foot forward and you were proactive, but what tips can you give?
Yeah, I think what I learned throughout that entire process is that they were really interested in who I am.
Okay.
Who are you as an individual? What makes you unique? What makes you different from the other people? How are you going to fit into our organization? Because they trust that everyone that they interview is intelligent enough, right? Because that gets you through the door.
Yeah.
But the question is, can you stay in once you make that first step through the door
and add value?
Right? So that's what I found. I found that I needed to be my unique self. I needed to show them my leadership potential, and I just needed to. I made it a point to be different from the other kids who were there.
I think that's so important.
Yeah, exactly. I did not shy away from who I am, and I put that across. Where they gave us a difficult, uncomfortable task, I made sure that I rise to the occasion and I tackle, the difficult task that they have given us. And I think that's ultimately what got me through the door.
Yeah, and put your hand up, make yourself seen and heard.
Yeah,
without
exactly.
Being that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't overshadow everyone else. And I think me just being able to show them that I can be a team player, through that entire interaction. So I think that's what helped me a lot. And I think, I remember my interviews. I enjoyed my interviews because I just let my personality come through. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us get super nervous, and then that's what comes through rather than who you actually are.
Exactly. Because your interviewer wants to see that you are someone that they can trust with the work. You're someone that they can help to develop, and you're someone who is ultimately going to be the kind of lawyers that they are looking for. And they're looking for more than brilliant minds. So they want to see if that comes across when they interview you, and ultimately that's what's going to set you apart, from the other people that are coming for an interview. and please apply. Not everyone is going to attend a conference and meet an HR director. So
And when would you advise people to start looking into articles?
so I think the first thing is start looking into VAC work.
Yeah.
VAC work is so
I also
important.
did VAC work, and it's such an eye-opener. Hey?
VAC work is so important, and that's literally where firms are now choosing their
And you
people
get
from.
your foot in, and it's like, who's that guy, who's that girl?
Yeah, exactly. So very important. Start applying for VAC work from first year.
Okay.
And if you are very confident in your results, you can start applying for articles in your first year.
Okay.
I know a lot of people who are getting contracts in their second year.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Like, we started looking at these things in like third year, fourth year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First year, guys, start
So
looking at.
first year, you need to start having a plan. You need to
Yeah.
start thinking about these things. And I think if you haven't applied for articles in your third year, you are late.
Yeah. And also, I think just starting to think of your CV. So if you do VAC work in your first year, even if that particular firm doesn't call you back, but it's on your CV that I was at Bowmans, for 2 weeks in June in 2020.
Definitely.
Okay, so what does a sports employment litigation
Yes.
attorney at a Bowmans do? What is that?
Right. So I think
First of all, sorry, also,
Okay.
so you're an associate?
I'm a senior
Senior
associate.
associate,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Tell the people what a senior associate does.
All right. So I think really the core focus of my practice is employment law.
Okay.
So I'm in the employment and benefits practice group, and employment law, really labor law, it relates to disputes between employers and employees. And it can literally be any dispute. I mean, when you've got a relationship between people, one can certainly bet that there is going to be some tension here and there. So we, as a Bowmans, we essentially assist employers or companies in advising them in any disputes that they may have with their employees. And I mean, it ranges, from dismissals to unfair labor practices, to discrimination matters, equality matters.
And I take it, sorry, that you don't only come in at the dispute phase as well. There's also the drafting of contracts and all of
Yes.
that.
So
Policy.
Yeah. So I mean, we get involved in drafting policies for companies. We draft employment contracts. We draft restraint contracts. So there is an element of contract drafting. There's a lot of opinion work. So we give a lot of advice.
Okay.
And I do a lot of appearance work as well. So that is me appearing at a disciplinary hearing, at a CCMA, at a bargaining council, in the labor court. So that's basically my employment practice in a nutshell, which is the core focus of what I'm doing.
Okay.
And then I also do sports law.
So you managed to pull through your childhood passion into what you're doing now. Okay.
Yeah. And
And
it's
what
just,
does the sports lawyer do?
yeah, so my current focus at the moment is, I like to call it football law.
Okay.
So that's really relates to matters in the South African footballing space. So that would be either disputes between clubs and their players, and work that could involve advising the PSL. So anything that has to do with football in that space. As a firm, we also do a lot of work for Cricket South Africa. We do a lot of work for certain rugby unions. So there's that aspect as well. And all of it is really, it's either contractual or it's litigation based. And the litigation part of my practice, it's a very small part of my practice, and it's really just because at times there is a crossover between employment and litigation, where certain matters that start off as being an employment matter then find their way to a high court, for example.
And I think just to come in there, many areas of the law are like that. Where, family law, all of it, there's the one side, but when it goes pear-shaped, then go to court.
Yeah.
And a question I get a lot is, so are you in court a lot? You've mentioned CCMA, bargaining councils.
Yeah.
Are you in the high court a lot, magistrates court, or there's a bit of everything?
Yeah. So as an employment lawyer, not in the high court a lot. We go to the high court once in a while.
Okay.
But the labor court is a different story. So a lot of our work is done at the labor court. So that's physically appearing and, arguing matters
Do you
before
enjoy
a
that
judge.
part? Or do you prefer the office work or the appearance work?
I prefer both. I prefer a bit of both. I can't imagine myself going to court every single day. Like, I can't. And I must tell you, standing in front of a judge, with other colleagues there
It's
watching
scary
you,
as
it
hell.
is extremely scary.
And your first appearance.
It is extremely
Yeah.
scary. So I would never be able to go to court every day. I can't imagine working and not being able to be in the office. So I enjoy both.
Okay.
I enjoy both.
It's a good mix.
It's a good mix.
And would you say there's any specific expertise over and above the LLB degree for the type of work that you're doing that's required, or it's just if you want to grow and develop yourself?
Yeah, I can't think of any particular additional expertise that one would need. I think most of my learning has been on the job.
Okay.
And that's where you're going to learn a lot. And I often advise, any students that I come into contact with who are in varsity, I often advise them, don't stress too much about, I'm going to go into work and I don't know anything.
Yeah.
We were all like that.
Yeah, like, you were just like, what did I do the past 4 years?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So all the learning will really take place in the workplace.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you love the most and hate the most about your job?
Okay. Putting me on the spot,
Yeah.
and
And
my
be
boss
truthful.
might see
Listen.
this. No, I'll look. I think the part that I dislike the most about my job, which is something that's probably common to most lawyers, billing.
Yo.
Because
Yo.
you
Accounting for every second of your day.
billing.
Yeah.
Having.
And then, sorry, when I don't know if they still do this. When I was at one of the corporate firms, then at the end of the month, everyone's fees is like circulated via email, and you're like, okay, so I made 80,000 this month.
Yeah.
Very
So that's my least favorite part of the job,
Yeah.
because it can be stressful. Because essentially what they don't teach you in varsity is that if you are to become a lawyer and be in practice, you need to sell time, because that's what
That
we're
is
doing.
that's our offering.
We're selling our time.
Yeah.
I will do X for you. If I spend this amount of time on it, you're gonna have to pay me
Yeah.
at this rate.
Billing in English for the people that.
Billing means invoicing. It means, so it really, the whole process speaks to you having a certain number of hours that you are required to work and bill clients for the work that you've done.
So that email that took 10 minutes,
You have to record
quarter
it.
it out of an hour.
You have to
and
record
say,
it.
So that's
Yeah.
how we make our money.
Ah, man. I think what I really love about my job is that it's very spicy.
What do you mean?
My job is so
How
dramatic.
so?
I just get involved in the most interesting matters.
Okay.
And it's always something different. So each case that I deal with, it's got something different. I love the fact that I'm always learning. I've been doing employment law since 2012, and it's 2020, and
you're
I
still
promise you,
learning.
I'm working on a matter today,
Yeah.
and I'm still learning.
Okay. And you've worked in a small firm and
Yes.
you've worked in a big corporate firm.
Yes.
Um,
And I've worked at a corporate.
Oh, have you?
I worked at a bank, yes.
Okay,
So
okay, I
I've
didn't
been,
know that part, yeah.
I've been in-house as
Yes.
well.
So now, okay, great. So having done all three, I think we know what you prefer because you're here now. But for someone trying to figure out what their best fit is,
Yeah.
what would you say, the type of person for a small firm versus a big firm versus in-house?
Yeah.
Or is it just different experience for everyone?
Yeah. I think it's a different experience for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But my biggest advice would be, whichever route you want to pursue, whether you want to go in-house or be in practice, my advice would be, do your articles,
Okay.
get admitted.
Okay. Because I actually got that specific question, I think, last week.
Yeah.
I want to work as a legal advisor
Yeah.
in a corporate. Do I need to do articles?
Yeah. Do your articles, get admitted, because what corporates are doing now is they look for lawyers.
Okay.
Most of their job requirements is admitted attorney
Yeah,
with
true,
X
very
amount
true.
post-admission
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
right? And that really helps you as well in terms of the, the career path that you may go along in a corporate. Because I can tell you now, your boss in that corporate is an admitted attorney. It's someone who's been at a law firm for a very long time.
Yeah, and I think you add a little bit more value because you don't send everything out. There's some things that you can,
Yeah.
that you don't always have to refer out.
To outsource. So that's the first thing I would
Yeah.
say. In terms of big firm, small
Yeah.
firm, I think everyone's experience is different, right? There's a lot of thinking that if people go to a big firm, they don't get involved in substantive
Yes,
work.
yeah.
They just do a lot of running around, and they're
Paginating,
glorified messengers.
yeah.
I think that's a very false myth.
And it also depends who you work for, your direct senior. So two people in a big firm can have two separate experiences. and-
We all going to have different experiences. There are candidate attorneys who will get to a particular team, and unfortunately, when you get to the team at that time, they are working on this mammoth matter
Yes.
that has 10,000 files, and the
The
only
need is-
person
yeah.
who can prepare those files
Is
and
you.
bill client for those files is you. And unfortunately that does happen, but it's not the story for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So I enjoyed my experience of
Yeah.
articles in a big firm. I've also been to a small firm, and I've seen the kind of involvement that candidate attorneys in a small firm have, and I think they get good experience as well, because in a smaller firm you don't have rotations. You do whatever
Yes.
comes through the
Well,
door,
yeah.
then that's what you must do.
Yeah.
So that helps you to become a well-rounded
Yeah.
attorney as well.
So would you say someone who didn't get into the big corporates, because space is limited, and you get your articles at a small firm, it's you're still going to get good experience?
I think there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. You will get good experience, and the more you progress in your career,
Yeah.
right? And should you want to join a big law firm at a later stage, then you certainly will not be precluded,
Yeah.
because the more senior you become,
Yeah.
right? Firms look for experience, so they want to know what have you done,
Yeah.
what can you do.
Yeah.
It becomes more about that rather than where you did your
Very,
articles.
very true, yeah. Okay, so we're getting to sort of the end.
Yes.
What encouragement would you give to a young Sibu in a pass-through town in Mpumalanga
Yeah.
who doesn't want to work at Sasol? Just tips, encouragement if they do want to one day be in the seat that you are in.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, warnings and pitfalls, to kind of look out for.
Sure. I think research. Research is so important. Research the field that you want to go into. Find out what is out there. Try and get in contact with people who are doing the work. So you can really get to know from them firsthand. What does the work involve? What should I be looking out for right now?
Like you said, you spoke to your sister's
I
friend.
spoke to my sister's
who-
friend.
and you
Yes,
got a bit of
yes,
insight there,
yes. So I think research is very important. I think don't limit yourself. Do not limit yourself. Do not limit your dreams. Dream big, and don't be scared to dream big. I came from a town where we didn't have big buildings,
Okay.
right? And till this day, every time I drive to work, I look at this building and I think to myself, I didn't even have dreams that were this big. So I think it's important to dream big, and in dreaming big, you need to set yourself up to attain that kind of life. So make the right decisions daily. I think we make a lot of wrong mistakes in varsity. We make a lot of mistakes in varsity. We take for granted that the time in varsity goes by like this
Yeah, it does.
before you realize it,
Yeah.
right? And
then adulting kicks in.
and adulting kicks in, and the
Yeah.
decisions that you made while you were in varsity, they determine what kind of life you're going to live
Very much so.
as an adult.
Yeah.
So varsity goes by so quickly, you know. So just slow down on the playing.
On vibes.
Yes, play, vibes are great. They're part of experiencing and experiment and having a full experience
Yeah.
of the student life, right? So vibes are great, vibes are awesome. It's you being a student,
But
you
don't
know.
forget why you're there.
But don't forget why you're there. And work hard. You know, it sounds simple, but really,
No,
honestly,
it's actually very pertinent. I think a lot of us realize that later on in varsity. Okay, let's talk side hustles.
yes.
Tell us about your side babies.
Ah man,
So there's Dube Talent.
yes.
What is Dube Talent?
Dube Talent is a talent management agency.
Okay.
So basically, you know, our focus is on brand management.
All right.
So we currently just, you know, managing the brands of certain individuals in the sports industry,
Okay.
which is our focus. So we just believe that, you know, a lot of athletes, a lot of prominent individuals, they focus a lot on their career on the field, right? And they neglect the part that relates to them being a brand, someone who can be attractive to other brands, you know, to big
Partnerships,
brands, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's really what we're trying to do, you know,
Okay.
get guys to think that way,
Yeah.
or to think of themselves as a brand, and really to try and get them to do collaborations with other brands. Yeah.
And it's great when your talent manager also knows the law.
Yes,
'Cause
yes,
then they
definitely.
can
The
take a
two,
look at your
the two, the
contract,
two
yeah.
speak to each other.
How do you have this job and do that and sleep?
Yeah,
And go to gym.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's not easy,
Yeah.
right? But if something is a passion,
if you enjoy it.
if
yeah.
something is a passion, if you enjoy it, you know, you make time for
Yeah,
it. You
I
know,
can
on
100%
on
understand.
on most days, I leave work, I go home,
You start your second
I
job.
open my laptop, and it is okay. Do the
Yeah,
talent.
yeah.
What's going on? You know,
Sure.
let's check emails. What are we doing for this one? What are we doing for this one?
So
You
it's
know,
doable.
It's doable,
Yeah.
right? But you need to be committed.
Yeah.
You need to have the passion. You need to have the drive, right?
And then there's put my suit on top of all of that.
Butmasuti is a suit tailoring business.
Uyatunga,
Angtungi, no, goodness, where would I find time to tunga?
you know.
Yeah, so we tailor suits.
I get that, like a lawyer and then suits.
Because lawyers wear suits every day.
And you like
And
how
I think I'm a bit of a, I don't want to say fashionista, but I'll say
anyway,
fashionista.
Nana.
So I just like, you know, image is important, right? So working in a firm like this, over the years, one would have bought quite a number of suits. And I got to a place where I was like, I'm tired of buying suits from Woolies or whatever, you know, like I actually want to make my own suits, and they must look the way that I want them
in
to
the
look,
color you want,
in the
fit
color
you
I want, in the fit that I want. I thought I was well positioned as a lawyer.
Yeah.
To
You're a
be-
walking advert every day.
exactly,
Yeah.
you know. So I thought I was well positioned, and I thought that I work with people who need suits. I work with people who wear suits every day. So why not be that guy?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So that's what Butmasuti is about.
And then very important question.
Mm.
What's a pet peeve of yours?
A pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, so not necessarily, so we're out of the work environment now, just in life, what drives you up the wrong way or annoys you or raises your blood pressure or makes you roll your eyes?
Sure. Wow.
I'll tell you mine. So
Okay.
mine is slow drivers, like get out the road.
Actually, now that I think about it, you know what annoys me?
Yeah.
People that leave weights lying around at the gym.
Oh, wow.
That's actually what annoys me.
This is
Now
your
that I think
stress in
about
life.
it. Now that
So
'cause
what? So
I'm-
when they, like, it's not back in the little stand and then they like leave it on the floor. Is that
like
what
you go, yeah, like you go.
But like, how's that your problem? Just take another
Why-
weight.
But why are you not putting the weights back?
Because I'm in a hurry.
It's like gym etiquette.
Oh.
So one, people who will leave their weights lying around.
Yeah.
Ne? Two, people who put the weights in the wrong space. That annoy. I mean, the space says 20 kilograms.
Yeah.
And then when ufaga 10 kilograms, I'm
Yeah.
like, how?
Okay, no, that's fine. It's okay. We'll tease them. What do you absolutely love? Not a person, but just something that makes you smile.
I love sports. I love
The river.
I love sports. I love local soapies,
Okay.
local dramas.
Yeah.
I love movies. I absolutely love music.
Okay.
And I love, I don't want to say the church, but I love church. I love God. I'm very active in my local church. So I think those are the things that I really love and
Well,
hold
it's
dear to
bringing
me.
your step.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Sibu Dube. Follow him on the socials at Sibu Dube.
Sibu, yes.
S-I-B.
Sibu, yeah.
Yeah. And Butmasut, does it have its own page or
But, yeah, so Butmasuti has its own page, and that's BHUT
Okay.
Masuti.
Okay.
And Dube Talent has its
Has
own page as well,
as
yeah, which is Dube Talent SA.
Okay. Follow him on the socials. He's always chatting on Twitter, so never a dull moment. Thank you.
Thank you.